Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents 12 Principles for Raising a Child with ADHD by Russell A. Barkley, Ph.D. Narrated by Chris Sorensen. Publisher's Note: this audiobook refers to resources, figures, diagrams, grids, and the behavior report card included in the print and ebook editions of the book. Author's Note: identifying details in all of the case illustrations in this book are either thoroughly disguised to protect families' privacy or composites of real children I've known in my clinical practice. In this book, I alternate between masculine and feminine pronouns when referring to specific individuals. I have made this choice to promote ease of listening as our language continues to evolve, and not out of disrespect toward listeners who identify with other personal pronouns. I sincerely hope that all will feel included. Preface. Thank you for choosing to listen to this book. I hope it will serve as an indispensable guide as you go about the daily business of caring for and raising your child or teen with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. My goal is to introduce you to the touchstones that I've found so valuable over almost 50 years of working with parents and their children, to offer a book that you'll turn to over and over as you try to do what's best not only for your son or daughter who's dealing with ADHD, but also for the rest of your family. I'm confident that by adopting the dozen principles in this book, you'll have fewer and less serious difficulties raising your child, a much greater sense of competence and self-confidence as a parent, greater peace in your family, and a considerably more well-adjusted child or teen with ADHD. If you're familiar with my best-selling book, Taking Charge of ADHD, you may wonder why I decided to write another book for parents on this disorder. After all, the subtitle of that book is The Complete Authoritative Guide for Parents, and it's now in its 4th edition. The answer is pretty simple. Parents of children with ADHD are pressed for time and for reliable solutions to everyday challenges. From the hundreds of families to whom I've provided clinical services, and from feedback on more than 800 lectures, I've learned that parents need a handful of clear guidelines that will keep them grounded in their intention to raise a happy, healthy child in spite of ADHD. Such guidelines, centered in a solid understanding of what they're dealing with, can equip them with proven practical solutions when they are struggling with the challenges of having ADHD in the family. That's what you'll find in this book. Taking Charge of ADHD offers in-depth information on all aspects of ADHD from my own research and my weekly reviews of the latest scientific literature. This new book is based on the same up-to-date research data and clinical wisdom, but it's imbued with another dimension, one that is more directly a product of my own personal and professional evolution. As I've worked with those thousands of parents all around the world, my compassion and empathy for the people who are so devoted to their child's well-being have grown exponentially. At the same time, I've gotten a first-hand look at what it's like to care so deeply for a child with a disorder and to be determined to set that child on a course toward health, well-being, and success. Several years ago, I became the grandfather of a child on the autism spectrum, and since then I've been given the gift of actively participating in helping him overcome the challenges of autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Watching my grandson achieve daily developmental victories has been a great joy, and has motivated me to try to support parents of children with ADHD in the same way that I encourage you to shepherd your own child toward the best life he or she can have. So I hope this book will not just be a concise practical resource, but also a comfort and an inspiration. When your fifth grader suddenly remembers after dinner that he has to make a diorama to turn in tomorrow morning, I hope you'll turn to Principle 2 to renew your patience by reminding yourself that he has a disorder and what that means to your everyday reality. When the invitation to a classmate's birthday party sends chills of terror down your spine, I'd like to think you'll turn to Principle 12 for help in anticipating the chaos and planning how your daughter can avoid disintegrating in its midst. When you throw up your hands at all the abandoned, ignored, or half-finished chores your child with ADHD has racked up, or how many house rules he's broken just this morning, I hope you'll hear the section on Principle 4 and remember not to sweat the small stuff, especially when it just doesn't add up to promoting the big stuff you want for your child and your family. You'll find these types of support and advice and a lot more later. Remember, these are guiding principles meant to steer you along the path that only you can chart. Also remember that you can turn to Taking Charge of ADHD for details that will help you draw your map and stay on track. How to use this book. You can use this book as I just described, flipping to the help you desperately need at the moment when you're struggling with a particular challenge commonly presented by ADHD. You can also listen to the book from beginning to end and then go back to individual chapters as you need them. And incidentally, by you and parents throughout this book, I mean to include step-parents, foster parents, grandparents, and anyone else who has primary responsibility for raising a child with ADHD. The introductory chapter and first 5 principles provide a foundation for parenting a child with ADHD. Understanding the keys to success. Number 1, remembering that your child isn't behaving badly because he's bad, but because he has a developmental disorder. Number 2, getting into the mindset of a shepherd. Number 3, getting your priorities straight. Number 4, and becoming more mindful of your child and your interactions with him or her in each moment. Number 5. The other 7 principles turn to more pragmatic solutions to the problems that ADHD symptoms impose on your child and you. How to use rewards and touch versus talk to encourage desired behavior. How to compensate for your child's problems with time and memory. How to help your child get organized to succeed at school and elsewhere. How to make problem-solving tangible and concrete. And how to prevent ADHD from making it hard to leave home. If you haven't read Taking Charge of ADHD, I recommend you first listen to the introduction, where you'll get a short course in the developmental nature of ADHD and how that translates to what you see in your child's daily functioning. This understanding is critical to effectively adopting all of the 12 principles in this book. The conclusion will be invaluable for its vision of how the 12 principles come together into effective, rewarding parenting of a child with ADHD. I deeply appreciate the advice and assistance of Kitty Moore and Chris Benton of the Guilford Press for making this book a far better product and for bringing the book to production. And thanks as always to my friend Seymour Weingarten, Editor-in-Chief, and Bob Matloff, President at Guilford, for their continued support of my many books and my newsletters, rating scales, and other products over the 38 years that I have been publishing with them. Finally, I want to thank the thousands of parents of children and teens with ADHD with whom I have worked over my more than 40-year career for giving me so much insight into and advice about how best to raise a child with ADHD. Introduction. Understanding ADHD. Let's face it, over the decades that the disorder has been diagnosed, ADHD has gotten a bad name. In fact, the name is part of the problem. As a label intended to convey what the problem is, Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is limited, superficial, and misleading. As a result, with some help from widespread
Sample complete. Ready to continue?